Right on. Okay. Once again, I want to thank everybody for joining us today. I'm real pleased to have Mr. Chris Cole with me. Mr. Chris and I are just beginning to know each other. I actually know his wife through some business that I've done at Dyersburg Glass, and she works at the table there, and she's always very friendly, very helpful, and so she's the one that connected us. And, you know, Mr. Chris is a sheriff's deputy with Dyer County Sheriff's Office. Has served there how many years?
I've been at Dyer County 3 years now.
3 years. And before that, you were?
I was with Lauderdale County prior to that for 3 years as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so, law enforcement background. Prior to that, he was in the Army, National Guard.
Yes, sir.
And so, I'm just real pleased to have him with me today, and I want to ask him all different kinds of things just as it kind of comes up, but to give myself a better chance to get to know him and, you know, for him to introduce himself to all of us here. I'm going to give him room to talk and just kind of lay out, you know, his journey to getting to where he is now. And I want to thank you again for coming on. You know,
hey.
I want to say I've had a lot of no's. So it is nice to have somebody brave or crazy enough, that's what I like to say, to come on. But this is a really good thing, I feel like. You know, that's why I'm, even though I'm very busy, and it's hard to try to work this into my schedule, I think that doing something like this is really good for the community as a whole. You know, we don't have a local paper anymore. Any kind of news that you get locally is, you know, you get little bits and pieces through Facebook. I mean, the State Gazette, I believe, is still around and still does some stuff, but there's no better way to get to know somebody than doing this kind of thing right here, where you just sit down, give everybody as much time as they want to talk about whatever they want to talk about, you know. Mr. Chris is running for a commissioner position, but, you know, I am too, as a matter of fact. But people get sick of politics. I mean, I don't love politics. I think that we do need men and women who are hardworking, who have proven themselves to be diligent and faithful people, who are willing to bear the burden and do that sacrifice of public service, that maybe are not necessarily career politicians who don't love it, you know, but they realize that it's an important thing that, you know, we need good people to serve in. And so, you know, even though, you know, running for a commissioner position is good and it's important, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, in an effort to not focus solely on that, we're going to talk about all kinds of things. And so, once again, I want to thank you very much for coming on. It really does mean a lot to me. It's been a pleasure getting to know you thus far, and I can't wait to see wherever this interview takes us today. So, would you like to say something to introduce yourself?
Yeah, first of all, thank you again, Stephen, for taking time out of your day to do this with me. Yeah, a lot of people are focused on who is from Dyer County, where they live. We are truly one county when it comes down to it. When there's meetings, the mayor, we all have to figure out a way to communicate.
That's right.
Myself, you know, I'm from Dyer County. We moved down here in '87 because of the Hall's Tupperware plant opening up. It brought a lot of people from up north down here, and I've called this place my home since '87. Went to Dyer County or Dyersburg City Schools.
Okay.
Graduated in '96. You know, I played football. I rodeoed a little bit. I had a great time here in Dyer County growing up.
No kidding.
And, of course, I joined the Army as soon as I graduated. A lot of people went to college. They went to work in factories. I wanted to see the world. So I joined the Army, and right off the bat, I spent 3 years in Hawaii. You know, this little country boy. They stationed me in Hawaii, and I had a blast.
Yep.
It was a good time. I made a lot of friends, learned a lot about the Polynesian culture.
Yeah.
And from there, they sent me from Hawaii to the middle of Louisiana. So when I got to Louisiana, I was asked, hey, you know, Cole, what are you going to do when you get out of the Army? And at that time, I wanted to be a Tennessee game warden.
Oh, yeah?
I told my command this. Well, lucky for me, they had a game warden position open on base and the adjoining base, Peace Island Ridge. So I got certified, became a federal military police game warden, and did that for 2 years, and then I came home. Of course, I was trying to find a job. Nobody back then was really hiring as far as police agencies went.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people wanted to be law enforcement back then. So I went to work at the prison. You know, that was July 2001.
Northwest? Or?
Yeah, Lake County.
Lake County.
And September 11th hit, and of course I had joined the National Guard. I thought, well, I still want to wear the uniform when I came off active duty. So I immediately got activated, and my platoon and another platoon was sent to do Homeland Security. It was called Operation Noble Eagle. We had a platoon of Milan and one in East Tennessee guarding federal ammunition depots.
Yeah.
I did that for a year, you know, and it was good as far as getting spun up because we knew there could be more deployments coming and allowed us to do more training. Long story short, I got home from that. I was maybe home a month, and I heard about a deployment going to Kuwait, and this was December 2002. So I wanted to go. I wanted to be part of the spearhead, the adventure of possibly going into Iraq.
That's right.
And so I volunteered, and I went with the Dixon unit. We went to Kuwait. We were in the desert January 2003. We were attached to 3rd ID and the United States Marine Corps, just supporting their needs as military police. Of course, the war kicked off March 2003, and we were there for quite some time. I was there for a year until the government figured out I had been activated too many days within a 5-year time period. So they sent me home, and my unit stayed. I didn't even realize it. You know, I'd been there and I'd gotten a really big check, and I thought, man, did I get promoted? What's going on? You know.
Yeah.
And next, you know, this major comes and pulls me out of my tent in Iraq. He's like, Cole, you got to go home. You've been here too long.
Oh, wow.
I tried to fight it. I talked to the commanding general of OIF Freedom at that time in Kuwait, trying to convince him to leave me there. And he said, son, we got to send you home. This is above my head. So I went home, and I was single. I really didn't have a place to stay.
This was about 2004?
This was 2004, January. And my brother and I, over at that time in Texas, let me come work with him. I was traveling the country from Vegas to California, everywhere, working with him, doing his business, maybe figuring out a new trade. And, I come home to Tennessee, Dyersburg, to get some belongings.
Yeah.
And I went in a store to get a cell phone. Well, I met this young girl, and I was like, I need to ask her out. You know? And we've been married 21 years now.
Right
so
on.
It created my base to stay again here in Dyer County. And this is home.
Yeah.
It always has been. Fast forward, ended up going full-time guard. I served in Memphis with the 130th as a training NCO, supply sergeant. I run all the budgeting, all the equipment I was responsible for, millions of dollars worth of stuff. And I did that for about 2 years, and then to get close to home again, because driving to Memphis every day was a pain. I took a job in recruiting. I recruited Lauderdale County for the Guard. I recruited Dyer County, worked with some wonderful people. And I think the best part about that job was meeting these young men and women and giving them the opportunity to go to college without having to worry about debt.
That's right.
And also giving them the job experience they needed, you know. And even to this day, when I come across my old soldiers, my old recruits, they'll hug my neck, shake my hand, thank me.
Yeah.
They may not still be in, but they love the experiences that they had.
That's right.
And getting to serve and help people is something I've always done.
Yeah.
Something I've always felt was in my heart and in my soul. And, of course, when I got out of the Army, I told my wife, I said, look, I'm done carrying a gun. I'm done wearing a bulletproof vest. I want to be normal. She said, oh, okay, yeah. Shauna laughed too. And so I went to truck driving school at TCAT, and I drove truck for 2 years for Dot Foods. Wonderful company. That I couldn't speak highly enough of Dot and the people out there. They truly mean what they say. They put their employees' families first. They've helped me out. But I got an opportunity to go teach at TCAT after a couple years as a CDL truck driving instructor. And again, what was I doing? I was helping people, helping them get into careers. Same thing. I see them and it's, thank you.
Yeah.
What are you doing now? But when COVID hit, I was part-time at TCAT and working full-time at JST Trucking, managing their maintenance shop for Reed and Anthony Sanders. Another two wonderful people. They're from Lauderdale County that I couldn't brag enough about. And when COVID hit, we lost a lot of our carriers.
Yeah.
So I was sent home, on COVID layoff. And I couldn't sit at home. I could have made plenty of money between my retirement and what was going on and receiving COVID pay. But I had to work. I'm a worker bee. I can't just sit at home and do nothing.
Yeah, same.
So I called Clay Newman in Lauderdale County, and that's how the sheriff's department career kicked off. I asked him, I said, hey, man, you still want me to be a deputy? Yeah, I said, I need some help here. He said, man, come on. And he took me in. I worked for them. They sent me to the police academy. I came back, and serving the community is what I've been doing ever since.
Yeah.
And I came to Dyer County mainly because I wanted to serve my home.
Yeah.
I love Lauderdale, working in Lauderdale. They treated me great, but Dyer's where my heart's at. And that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, man, that's great. That's great. So much there I want to touch on.
Absolutely. I'm going to get a drink of water.
Oh, you're good. I'm curious, so y'all moved to Dyer County in 87. Where'd you live?
Where am I from?
Yeah, where'd y'all live before, and then where'd you move to in 87? Idaho?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's a move.
Yeah, it was. And then we moved to Pecan Cove in Dyersburg.
Okay, that's a nice community. Yeah.
That was my first house in Dyer County.
Yeah. So. And then whenever you come back, gosh, I guess there's a lot of time that passed there. In 2004, you were with your brother. Yes. You said you were trying to learn a trade with him. I'm just curious, what's he do?
Very unique, actually. He was he sold his business last year, even though he's still helping to the guy that bought it. He was a striper. He striped running tracks for colleges, high schools, universities.
Yeah.
And also did the latex surfacing on those tracks.
Okay.
And he started out with a company in South Carolina a long time ago, and then grew it to where he owned a striping company and then the latex as well. His company was called the Track Doctor.
Okay.
And I was learning to do that, which that job required a lot of travel.
Yeah.
A lot of time away from home. He made a lot of sacrifices to be where he's at. And when I met Shauna, I was wanting to be home more. I didn't really want to pursue that career.
Yeah. So that was just kind of a niche.
Yeah.
And you come home and got a cell phone and met your wife.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty
wow.
much. And, we've been together. We've got Dalton, which is our son, my son. And then I have two wonderful stepchildren, Peyton and Kristen. Kristen has given us 4 beautiful grandchildren. And I was married once before. We didn't have any children, but Bridget and Nina were my ex-wife's children. And Nina's given me Phoebe, which I'm the official grandpa, so Nina says. So.
Okay.
And they live right behind me.
Oh, wow.
So in the next neighborhood. But wonderful. I've been blessed when it comes to family. And couldn't ask for more, really.
Yeah. So where are you living at now?
I live in Folks.
Okay.
Yeah, Folks, Tennessee.
Okay. Yeah, man, I was just curious about that. And you talked about going to work as an instructor at TCAT. Mm-hmm. What is that like? What qualifications do they look like for some, how did they go about reaching out to you? Because the reason why I ask, the trades are very important to me. Mm-hmm. I wish so badly that whenever kids were going through high school, and probably even as early as when they're like finishing up middle school, you could be at least showing them that this is a viable option in the future. Young men especially, and if girls want to do it too, more power to them. But, for me, I've been graduated now 10, 12 years, class of 15, whatever. So when I was going through school, it was all ACT prep, getting you ready for the ACT, getting ready to send you to college. They preached college so much. And,
absolutely,
if you can go and you want to go, that is fantastic. You should go, and a school should do everything in the world to equip you. whenever I got out of high school, I went to college. I started at Dyersburg State. I went about a year before life happened and I wasn't able to continue on with that. But the whole time I was kind of like dissatisfied. I don't know. I mean, I never was crazy about school anyways. Growing up, you sit there 7-8 hours a day. You have to just, it's a lot of writing, reading. And, obviously kids have to do those things and be excellent at all of that. That's good that they do that. But I don't understand why that the trades were seemingly looked down on, Right. I ended up graduating with some guys, and like this is a funny little story that I'll tell just because it come up in my memory. I shared with you that I went to trade school. Mm-hmm. So for listeners that don't know, me and Mr. Chris were talking a little bit while I was still setting up, and I was going to college for ag business at Dyersburg State, and I only liked one more semester before I was going to be transferring to UT Martin. And I was raised in a farming family. That's all I ever wanted to do. And if I could be doing anything right now, even as bad as farming is, I'd probably still be farming. I enjoyed it. I mean, I love being outside. I smell that dirt getting worked up this time of year, and I just want to go lay in it. It's amazing. I don't know. I'm like a plant out there soaking up the sunshine. But, I was told by a member of my family, the one who, would ultimately have the say in if I was going to stay and become a farmer, what that would look like, that I needed to find something else to do. And that same week, we found out that my wife was pregnant. And so I was 19, and I was just like, what am I going to do now? I went to trade school. I dropped out of community college, and I went to the Votech at right. Newbern, which I will say they were all fantastic to me. That was a great experience. I remember doing a tour, and I forget who was in charge of that. There was a guy that was his specific job was just working with newcomers and trying to help them figure out which path to take. We toured all the programs that they had. I was thinking HVAC, welding, automotive, or diesel mechanic. I really would like to have done that, I think. But we did a tour of all those, and I said, which one of these programs has an open seat and what pays the most? And he said industrial maintenance. They got 3 open seats right now, and you'll start out making $20 an hour, which I was back in 2017.
Right.
So I was like, shoot, yeah, sign me up. And I didn't understand why there were open seats. That's because if you finish that program, you're going to go to work as an electrician in a factory on nights.
Right.
That's why they had open seats.
Yeah, not very tempting for most people.
No, it's not, So anyways, I started in on that, and I remember being about halfway done with the program. Things were going good. It was during one of the breaks when colleges are out. We had a time in the morning where you could take a 15-minute break for breakfast or something like that. I ran down the road to McDonald's in Newbern, and I walked in there and I ran into this guy. Me and him were in the same ACT prep classes. He's a great dude. I ain't got a clue what he's doing now. Last time I looked for him on Facebook, I couldn't find him, but he went to college at Notre Dame, and he was home on break, and he was asking me how it was going. I think he was wanting to become a lawyer. And I said, oh, pretty good. And he's like, what are you doing now? And I was like, I'm at the trade school. And he just kind of looked at me, and I thought, it made me feel bad. You know what I mean? Like I had something to be ashamed of or something.
And you should be proud of that.
Well, you should. And especially because, my journey, I'm going to say, is not typical in some ways. Everyone's going to have their own journey that they got to go on. But for me, I could not have done any better. I mean, I think it's the grace of God combined with hard work on my end that has helped me do as well as I have done. But like I know guys that I went to school with who struggled, had to repeat some stuff, or maybe they changed colleges in the middle of trying to get their degree or whatever, and they owe $100,000 when they graduate, and they're not making as much money as I make. And I graduated debt free. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like you tell people that, and they almost look at you like, yeah, right. But I know plumbers that are making a killing.
Yeah.
I know electricians, residential or industrial, that are doing great, and that may not be the kind of career that you want to have. I know a lot of people like, I worked the steel mills several years, and it's dark, dusty, hotter than heck, and
Right.
it is rough. I don't know that I would want my sons to have to call that a career all their life unless they just wanted to and loved it. But for me, it was excellent. It was really good.
Right.
And so there is a stigma. What's the word? Is it a stigma? It's like a little cloud that hangs over the trades. Right. It's not as bad as it used to be, but it's still not where I'd like to see it be. I wish that things were more wide open so that the trades are a viable option. I'm just going to say that for anybody that will listen to me. Ain't nobody, hopefully more people will see this than I think, but we need tradesmen. We need tradeswomen. We need people who are willing to do that kind of thing. And I promise you, there is money out there for those who will go through that, learn their trade, work hard. They can have a great life,
Yeah.
And to me, that's as good as college, maybe even better in some circumstances. So,
It's awesome. I'm sorry. I didn't mean.
You're fine. Go ahead.
It's awesome you bring that up. I told you I recruited the area, right, as a National Guard recruiter. We had a program that I brought into Dyer County High School. I brought it, it really went wonderful in Dyersburg High School. When Dyersburg High School created the senior seminar class, they brought me in for a 3-day program where I taught what is called career direction. And with that program, I was presenting to the students more than one option, which that one option being college, where you could go to trade schools. And I pushed trade huge. Show the time periods that you would have to go to class and turn around and start making money compared to 4 or 8 years of college. Bring in the percentages that the success rate of college. For every 10 students at that time, I think maybe 3 or 4 actually went through and graduated and committed themselves all the way through college. Where the trades, they had a higher success rate at your TCATs, at your other, or even doing an apprenticeship.
Yeah.
Showing all these different options. And I always ask the students, how many of you have been pushed towards college? And this would be every single senior at Dyer County or Dyersburg. I would ask, how many of y'all have been pushed to college? And everybody would raise their hand and be 100%.
Yeah.
And why? What do you plan on doing in life? What do you love doing?
That's right.
And a lot of them would go, well, I love driving trucks, or I love farming, or I love working with my hands.
Yeah.
And again, you get half, if not more, of the class that would be better suited for a trade school versus going to college. And showing them different avenues. Of course, being a military recruiter at the time, we also hit the military a little bit. Hey, this is how, if you get a supply job in the military, you could run, it would teach you how to better run a warehouse or do operations, say at the Dot Foods warehouse, Ermco, whatever. It teaches you how to move logistics.
Yeah.
Military police could help you in the line of law enforcement. Obviously I was military police. I was also logistics. In the Army, you can hold more than one job.
Yeah.
It's awesome that you bring that up because I still teach that to this day.
No kidding.
Tom Mathis is a senior seminar teacher at Dyersburg High School. And he asked me when I retired from the Guard, he brought me in for one last class when I was still active duty. And he asked me, he said, would you still come back and volunteer and do this? I was like, man, I'm retired. I want to drive a truck and be left alone, But no, my heart, I have gone every year since my retirement in 2017 and gone back and taught that same class for Coach Mathis.
Yeah.
Wonderful teacher and instructor. He's taught a lot of people here in Dyer County.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, I was teaching survival training at the ROTC in Dyer County. I have volunteered a lot of my time to the community, and I'm probably gonna do it till the day I'm put in the ground.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Well, that's good. So teaching that class, and you said when you ask them how many here have been pushed to college, and it's almost unanimous.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? My suspicion, which put my tinfoil hat on here for a minute,
Okay.
it has something to do with money. I suspect that maybe the more kids come out of high school and go to college, that it's better for the school system than if they come out and go to trade school somehow. And maybe that's not fair, But I don't know. I mean, why would that be the
Well,
thing that they push so hard? I mean, I always, whenever I see something like that, my mind goes to it must be what's in the financial best interest. But that's just a guess. I don't know. I don't know who to talk to about it. But
well, I mean, being in that realm for a little bit, being around the counselors, working with the counselors, because as a recruiter, I had to, every kid I enlisted, the counselors would go, well, how much in college benefits are they getting? Or this and that. And I had to present that when I recognized the students on scholarship day. I would call them up on the stage and go, hey, Joe Smith just got $180,000 worth of college money by joining the National Guard, whatever it might have been, you know. And they push the scholarships,
okay,
which they are supposed to be doing.
that's right.
I don't know if the school benefits anything from it. I really don't. But when I started bringing up trades and stuff, a lot of the counselors and stuff supported.
Yeah,
You know, they understand that not every student is college bound material.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a sense of education. I mean, that might be in a sense of maturity or a child not willing to leave their family
yeah,
or the family not wanting the child to leave.
that's right.
You know, I myself, Dalton, my son is 20 years old. He works at Armco. When he was getting close to graduation, he was talking to an Army recruiter. You know, he was thinking, well, Pop wants me to do what he did, and he expects me to do that, but he never approached me about it.
Really?
He just approached me and said, Dad, I'm going to join the Army. I'm like, you need to talk to your mom about this. You know, after everything I put your mama through, I'm not
boy.
sure.
Especially this time, like the climate we're in now. Oh my God, I'd be
Yeah.
terrified
Oh.
between Ukraine and Israel and Iran.
Trust
Jesus.
me, I was more terrified of Shauna Cole than I was any foreign country.
Yeah, I hear you.
when he brought it up. But he finally come up to me. He said, Dad, I just really don't think I want to join. I said, why? He said, I don't want to leave home. I said, I don't want you to leave home.
Yeah,
You do what you want to do in life.
that's right.
My brother told me this when I was traveling with him. And when he offered me the job to come with him and work and stay with his family, he offered me an insane amount of money. For me at that time anyway. It probably wasn't for him. But he told me immediately afterwards, and I'll never forget it, this is 04. He said, do what you love in life and everything will follow. He said, Christopher, don't do this for the money.
Yeah,
But I laid there and thought about that. Do what you love in life.
yeah. Don't do it for the money.
Yeah, and
that sounds like a rich man's advice to somebody. You know what I mean?
But you know, it sunk in, and I thought about it, and I loved wearing the Army uniform. I loved being around my fellow troops. You know, training, the camaraderie, and with that job, I'd have been by myself, alone on the road.
Yeah,
I thought, no, I think, and that's pretty much when I made the decision. I'm going to try to find something else to do other than what my brother was doing.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, our children will fall in line with what their grandparents or the parents are doing, and it just seems that's the norm.
yeah.
When in fact, you know, we're not who our dads were.
That's right.
You know, you're going to have your own interests, your own likes. You know, when I joined the Army in 96, my dad and I got in the biggest fight.
Oh Lord.
We had horses on Simpson Road. We had a lot going on here at home. And my mom had just died a year earlier.
Oh Jesus, man.
So, you know, she died in 95.
Okay.
And he's like, well, how am I supposed to do this? You don't need to join the Army. And it was bad. We had a knockdown drag out over it. Well, fast forward that 20 years ago, or 20 years later, and me and my dad are sitting in the duck blind in O'Brien, and he goes, son, it's a good thing you did that whole Army thing. You're going to get to retire at 41. You know, it's amazing how it flipped.
Yeah.
And like I said, it seemed like the worst decision of my dad at that time, 20 years later.
Yeah.
Couldn't have imagined me doing anything else in life.
That's right.
You know. So, and I remember that. My dad passed away recently, and we miss him. He ain't suffering no more, but I try to carry his knowledge on to my son the best as I can.
Yeah.
You know, he was a farmer, truck driver. He was a blue-collar fellow.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot from him. But again, I didn't exactly fall into what he did. He never carried a badge and a gun. I tried the truck driving thing, but my wife dealt with deployments overseas. She dealt with military schools that lasted months on end where I wasn't home.
Yeah.
And so she said, "Baby, you're retired, but you need to find something else to do in life other than drive a truck."
Oh, really?
So I was teaching TCAT, went JST, and now, of course, COVID, here I am.
Yeah.
Wearing a badge and a gun. But the best part about this job is simply getting to help people.
Yeah.
And since '96, on and off, I've been in law enforcement. It's just, I guess it's kind of ingrained in me.
Well, I tell you that law enforcement doesn't get the recognition, the credit that they deserve. Something happened in the last 10 years or so. I mean, I don't understand why it has to be this way, but it seems like that. First of all, let me say, I've never broken any laws that I know about. I get a heavy foot sometimes. I get nervous around the law. I just do. That's just who I am. But that being said, though, what y'all do is like, we've got to have it. And then what y'all put on the line for what you get in return, the risk reward. I mean, for whatever y'all make a year, when people call the sheriff's department or, whoever, when they dial 911, it's one of the worst days of their life. And y'all respond to that every single day. So every single day that's just another day for y'all is somebody's worst day of their life, And so to have to endure that every single day, like, you deserve all the help, all the support. I'm speaking of sheriff's deputies and police, all together there. They deserve help. They deserve recognition. I see a lot of times they catch flack, whatever the particular circumstance may be. I don't know. But as far as the everyday guy who is carrying a badge and a gun, who is just showing up to do his job and help the community, I wish that there was better support and recognition from some folks, but it seems like it's almost fashionable now to hate on the cops. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's sad. To me, it's really sad, because where would we be without the law enforcement? There's some parts of town where crime's not an issue at all for them. That's not where I grew up. It was something all the time where I lived.
Right.
And so, I'm very appreciative for the sacrifices that y'all make. It has to be, like I had a pastor on a couple weeks ago when I just posted his video last night. We talked a lot about how, being a minister is a calling. It's not really a job. Well, it's the same way with the sheriff's deputies or anybody in law enforcement, or really any one of the emergency services. It is a calling to have to deal with that every single day and not let it just cripple you, because it can. I couldn't imagine working as an EMT, showing up to car wrecks, showing up to where someone is dying, just every day. And they do it, and they deserve every ounce of honor that a regular citizen can give to them. So, while you were talking about that, it just made me think of it. I wanted to make sure that, I do appreciate the sacrifices you made and everybody else who stands alongside of you. It's, I wish, like even right now, there's people who question how the sheriff's department does things. Well, maybe a leader who runs for an elected office, whatever, that you have a right to speak your mind. We do have a freedom of speech.
Right.
But for the average everyday guy who is just a part of towing that blue line, they deserve support, respect, honor. I wish that we could do more, for that. But anyways, I just thought about that. Thought I'd say something about it. No. So.
And Dyer County, to be law enforcement, whether it's Dyersburg PD or Dyer County Sheriff's Office, we don't receive the hatred here at home that is going on around the country, like New York, LA,
or Memphis.
Memphis. Our community does support law enforcement probably a lot more than average.
Yeah.
And of course, when you pull someone over for DUI, or you're having to take a husband or a wife to jail for domestic, of course, you're not the most loved person at that time. No. And that comes with it, There's an old joke, we make a lot of frenemies.
Yeah.
But the blessings we get in return sometimes come from the weirdest or strangest places. I was in a business the other day, just trying to get signs out and doing for commissioner. And I was approached by someone that I know and someone I've arrested.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And this young man comes up. He goes, Mr. Chris, I just want to shake your hand and thank you.
Wow.
He bragged about how he's in rehab now. He's doing good. And I could see it in his eyes. You could see that light in his eyes.
Yeah.
And he goes, no, thank you. He said, if it weren't for you, I probably wouldn't be on the road I'm on right now. And it's a good one.
Right on.
And he wasn't the first one to do that to me. It doesn't happen that often, but when it happens, it makes you, for that moment, forget all the bad you've been dealing with.
That's
that
right.
day. You know, when someone walks up to you and thanks you.
That's right.
I'm not responding to them ODing in a house or, you know, driving DUI and wrecking and killing somebody.
Yeah.
It was a good interaction. And that, besides the number one thing that get being a deputy, is getting to help children.
That's right.
Or women to safety. That's, you know, I grew up, my first stepdad was very abusive, beat my mom when I was a kid growing up. And I witnessed that and saw that.
Yeah.
And then when my mom divorced him and married Randy Cole, Randy adopted me when my mom died. I didn't become the person to beat women. I wanted to be that protector.
That's right. That's right.
The protector. And I think that's what really pushed me into law enforcement.
Yeah.
Was when the cops did show up and they stopped the violence for the first time in a long time, I felt safe.
Yeah.
And I wanted to give that feeling to other people.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
No, that makes total sense. I mean, I've seen abuse firsthand. The results of drugs and alcohol and just violence. I don't understand. It's like some people have it in them. They're just turned that way or something. But no, I mean that's very important. You know, saving children, saving women who are in abusive relationships. It's so sad that people don't think about it a lot. I would be interested to hear what you say, the percentage of, you know, calls that y'all have to respond to or something like that. But it happens more, it's more prevalent, I think, than a lot of folks realize. It's more common than a lot of folks realize. You know, what would you say if you had to just take a off the cuff?
Yeah, honestly, if I put a number behind it, I'd be lying.
Yeah.
But with drugs and alcohol, the percentages are pretty high.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, it's a drug or alcohol related case when you're dealing with a domestic violence.
That's right.
And very few times does it not involve one of the two, or if not both.
Yeah.
You know. But again, to hear those people afterwards go to rehab, clean up, do what they got to do. And now with the laws, like for instance, if you get arrested for domestic violence, you have to wear an ankle monitor. You have to pay a higher bond. The laws have really gotten better about protecting the victims.
Yeah.
Which could be a man or a woman.
Yeah.
But they have gotten better over the years. I'm really proud to see that. And as an officer, it makes you feel like they're trying to help you do your job better, because used to, you'd arrest Joe Smith for domestic assault and the wife girlfriend have a cut down their face, throw them in jail, and the next afternoon you see them holding hands in Walmart.
I know it. Jesus.
You know.
I hate that.
and it's like, why am I doing this? You know, it made you question why you were doing your job.
Yeah.
But of course, the laws are getting better on that.
Man, that's tough. I was talking to a family member of mine about this the other day, and you know, someone we knew was a victim of domestic violence, and I said the only thing worse than getting beat on is getting beat and staying.
Yeah.
Because physical violence is terrible, but the next layer to that, the next step is like psychological manipulation to where you will stay. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I've never understood why, but that's a real thing, man. People get the crap beat out of them, and then, oh, but he loves me. He said he's sorry. Shut up. You know, that's crazy.
Well, you know what being institutionalized is, right?
Yeah.
Where prisoners stay so long in the prison, he's scared to get out.
That's right.
He's scared of that freedom. Well, you run into the same thing with relationships. You get men or women that don't think they can find anybody else, that no one else will put up with them.
Yeah.
Or they get so used to the abuse that they actually think that's part of the love of the relationship. And it's hard to remove that from someone's psyche. Yeah, I've told women in many calls, both on Lauderdale here in Dyer County, if you don't get out, I'm scared I'm going to find your body one day. And they look you dead in the eye and say, well, no, he's going to get better. And I'm like, okay, I'll be praying for you, you know.
Oh,
I'll be praying because our job is limited by what we can do.
that was very well put. Institutionalized, scared that they can't survive outside of that.
Absolutely.
That is so sad, but it happens all the time.
Well, that's why they stay. So, and you know, we do have some resources here in the county for women. We have, and we try to push that information out when we go to these domestic calls. We have a flyer we give them where they can call the 1-800 number. If they need to go somewhere and stay, they place the women in those, and you can give them everything. But I'm an old cowboy, and you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Yeah.
You know, and I like to see more in the county as far as those resources go. If we're able to do it, if I'm able to do it as a commissioner and present plans,
Yeah.
you know, short term and long term for victim advocacy, you know, and help that. Just like the veterans, they're battling in their own minds.
Yeah.
I know. I fought those battles. Luckily, I had a wonderful wife. I had a wonderful command.
Yeah.
You know, one of my closest friends when I was active guard, Scott Sewell, he helped me through a lot of horrible times.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to get those resources to our veterans as well, because, again, we have a lot of veterans here in Dyer County. And I was lucky I got to meet a lady that's working for an attorney's office that is now handling a lot of VA cases so veterans can get the benefits they need,
Yeah.
whether their disability. And I'm excited to start working with her, and I need to go up there and meet her and her boss soon. Because Benny Spain is our VA representative. You know Benny, I'm sure.
I don't guess.
Well, he's a commissioner, plus he's the VA. He works for the VA in Dyer County, but he's limited to like 24, 30 hours a week is all he's allowed to work in that office. And I think it's 2 days a week. It's all 2 or 3 days a week is all he can work. He gets backlogged.
Yeah.
You know.
Sure.
And now, so my goal is to try to increase those resources as well. You know, that's stuff I've seen.
So what would you increase? See, that's where it gets blurry as far as what you could do or what you could bring before the COB, because I imagine a lot of that is state mandated or it comes straight from the VA telling them how much he can work or whatever. So how do you go about advocating for more, whether it's for the veterans or whether it's for domestic violence? You know, what you had, which is what I've had in my life, which it was a great blessing, is you have a support group, whatever you want to call it. It's just organically there, your wife, your command, people around you, you know. And that is, not everyone has that.
No.
And when they don't, they'll spiral. I mean, I couldn't imagine where I would be without my small group of friends and family, my wife. I don't know where I would be without having those anchors, those grounds, something to help give me stability. Because we all go through seasons of, you know, dark times, but especially what the veterans go through, what victims of domestic violence go through, it's worse than just, you know, it's worse than just a typical bad day.
Yes.
So other than having an organic support group, you know, from family, friends, what have you, a church, you know, churches are an excellent place to find hope and healing and support. But what else could be done besides that? I mean, is there something I'm not thinking of that you would bring forth? Or
No, well, I'm not going to sit here and make stuff up.
Yeah.
I'm not. I've never been a commissioner. Neither have you.
That's right.
And if we get elected, we've got a lot to learn.
Yes, sir.
A lot to learn. Nobody knows how to do everything in a job on the first day.
That's right.
Period. I know I have to learn that, and I'm wanting to learn that. But as far as helping the community, I'm going to have to figure those avenues out. Whether there be more grants that I need to learn to write and send forward, not even costing the taxpayers money.
That's right.
Or if there's avenues that we can all agree on as commissioners to maybe cut a little fat off here to add a little bit here. You know, that's something that, in my opinion, has not been done very well.
Yeah.
Is the communication between commissioners
Yes.
and the long-term goals and the short-term goals. Because if you don't have long-term and short-term goals, you're not going to succeed.
That's right. You got to have a target.
Right.
You got to have a bullseye.
You're a business owner.
Yes.
You know in 2 years you want your business to be here.
Yes.
You know, and you set those goals high.
That's right.
A lot of times impossible high. That's okay, because if you aim a little short, you're still above par.
That's right.
So that's how I approach life on everything. Of course, that's that military driven in me.
Yeah.
I was trained to do that as a young leader. I think I was first promoted as a leader in 2001. So I've been in leadership for over 2 decades. And with that, I've had to learn to work across the aisle with different cultures, different religions. You know, in Iraq,
Yeah.
we did the police transition mission where we handed over all police power to the Iraqi police. And you're dealing with a lot of people that you have to have an interpreter there to go, okay, tell him. And then
Yeah.
what should have been a 5-minute conversation turns into a 30-minute meeting over some tea.
Yeah.
You know, and if you communicate wrong or send the wrong meaning, it could have sent it back 5 years.
Yeah.
But what I want to bring to the table is what I've learned through the military is communicating with other commissioners.
That's right.
Most importantly, communicating, I don't even want to call them constituents. I want to call them neighbors.
Yeah.
Okay, because we're not New York, and this ain't Washington, D.C. Okay, everybody in my community, I've been in the same house for 20 plus years in 4 Points. They're my family. They're my neighbors, my family. My next door neighbor and I, his daughter and my son were born a month apart. And we have raised our children.
Raised families next door to each other.
It takes a tribe sometimes, and that's what it's been. And I can call most of my neighbors my brothers. They are my family. If they need me, I'm there. And for instance, in 2009, when I deployed to Iraq, my neighbors took turns mowing my grass while I was deployed, helping Shauna. She had a 3-year-old at the house, you know, and took care of me. Those
awesome.
are the people I represent.
That's right.
You know, and whether it be in Bonnecord, Tigrit, Unionville, folks, it doesn't matter. They're my neighbors.
Yeah.
And then, of course, once we're elected, we are expected by our people to communicate and move this county forward.
That's right.
That's one of the reasons I believe in my heart there's so many of us running against current commissioners.
Yeah.
The forward movement's kind of stalled.
Yeah.
Whether it be bringing in new businesses, using tax dollars correctly.
That's right. That's a big one.
I am all for full audits. I'm for term limits. You know, I don't think somebody should sit in there 16, 20 years.
Yes. I'm with you.
I'm 100% in that. And unfortunately, I work nights.
Yeah.
I work midnights. It hurt this interview a couple times. I recently had to go to a funeral. Of course, that's why we're doing this now.
Yeah.
But that's just some of my goals.
Okay.
And telling you where I come from and where I've learned it kind of conveys this is not something I just decided overnight.
That's right.
I put a lot of thought into it. Of course, my first responders, and I mean fire, EMS, law enforcement, they need more support,
Yes.
period. I can tell you firsthand, we could use better equipment. We could use more personnel. Is that going to cost more money?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
You know, but a lot of people will complain, well, the property tax might go up or this tax might go up. Okay, if it does, what would it actually be? I can't sit here and answer that right now, but I've looked at all the previous budgets, a lot of them. I've looked at the regions. Our county is not in the deficit, but you'll complain about maybe a quarter raise a month on a tax, but pay $100 a month for ADT. when you don't have the deputies that can respond in a timely manner, when your $100 a month ADT goes off.
Yeah.
You know, right now we're running 3 per shift is what we're trying to do at best. If all 3 deputies are in Trimble, you live in the Folks community and your ADT's going off.
Yeah. It's going to be a minute.
How long are we going to help?
30 minutes.
And that's not to our fault, but if we have a domestic in Trimble,
Yeah.
we try to get all personnel there.
You never
that's
know.
a violent situation.
That's right.
And I would love to see more deputies. And the deputies we have, bless them, I love every single one of them. They work here because they love it. The retirement's better in almost every surrounding county for every sheriff's office. And the pay's better in a lot of the counties around us. They're not here for the money. They're not here for the benefits.
Yeah.
They're here because they love Dyer County.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
That's you.
So, you know, I've been blessed with the fact that I have benefits from being retired from the military, and I don't have to pay the high rates at the sheriff's office. But I do want to try to figure out how we can get better insurance and better retirement for the dispatchers, the jailers, the deputies, everybody that works at the sheriff's office.
Yeah.
Or any other agency that's county. Can we find something cheaper and better, maybe even to save taxpayers dollars? You know, have we looked at the best 3 bids?
That's right.
You know, because last time I checked, in supply in the military, if I wanted to contract you to come into the armory and do a job, I had to have 2 other bids. And they couldn't be your 2 cousins.
That's right.
You know, there was an investigation that went into that. It had to be cleaner than that. And it's just stuff I want to look into and figure out.
Well, that's all really good stuff. You kept saying this word, which is perfect. Communication. What I hear from a lot of people is there's no reason why in Dyer County things should be as controversial as they are.
No.
So why are they? My humble opinion, I think we are very poor communicators one to another. Mm-hmm. I think that's sad. I've seen a lot of that in folks that are not willing to sit down and talk with me, whether on camera or off camera. They don't want to talk, or they won't say too much. And somebody will say, well, it's because they got something to hide. And I'm like, I don't think it could be that. I think it could be, for one, it's hard to find time, right? Me and you've had a hard time hooking up.
Time is precious.
2, they all have other stuff going on, and to do something like what I ask of them, they really need to take time to prepare. So I think some of it's that. I think some of it is just, you know, they don't want any bad publicity. They don't want to, you know, was commending Mr. Chris about talking about what he would like to achieve if he does make it on the county commission. Communication. For some reason, communication has just been lackluster between the CLB or from wherever in county government. Communication is just, I'm going to say, poor to fair. You know, there's a lot of room for improvement there. You know, you were not able to make the candidate debate at the chamber because you had a funeral you had to go to. There was a question they asked several candidates and current commissioners, what do you think is the greatest challenge facing the CLB right now? Nobody said it, but to me it was just like the lights were going off. I was like, it's communication. It is earning the trust of your neighbors again, because things are controversial, things are unknown, things are up in the air, people are uncertain and unsure, and you know, it's just why people can't see that. You know, they all said things about the budget or this or that, and it's like, we need that stuff too, but the most important thing is that we would be willing to restore better communication, be more approachable, be more able to explain why you voted the way you voted or what led to your decision. A lot of times people just kind of blow you off. That's been my, my experience anyways.
Yeah.
That's not good. So to me, the number one thing facing is we need better communication. We need to earn the trust. The CLB, whether I'm elected or somebody else is, the CLB as a whole has got to go about regaining trust from our neighbors, other people in Dyer County, because a lot of people are skeptical. And I don't think it's because they're crooks. I don't think it's because that they're got something to hide. I think it's because maybe they're busy, they got a lot going on in their life, and their communication is not the best. So I really like that. And man, there were some other things you said, but it's going to slip my mind now since we had our little break.
Yeah, a little battery died.
Yeah.
But no, we're
Go ahead and talk. I'm going to have to fix this camera.
okay. Well, I agree. 100, or do you want me to wait? I know you get to edit that.
Oh, that's fine. When it restarted, yours didn't have to be zoomed in, but I will zoom it in just a hair now. Yeah.
Get the glare off this bald head. Yeah, I learned a long time ago. I had some really great leadership in Hawaii. I had great leadership in Fort Polk, but most importantly, the one thing I took away, and I was probably 19, 20 years old, still a young soldier in the Army. I was told by a non-commissioned officer, Cole, remember all the great things about the leaders that are over you. And just as equally, remember all the things you didn't like. And then you base your leadership skills off which you have had the privilege of learning from.
That's right.
One of the things that I loved about the leaders that I looked up to the most was their communication with us. Telling us, hey, here's why we're doing this. Here's why we're doing this. Because in the Army, you don't have to explain why.
That's right.
You can say, hey, we're going to go over and do this, whether you like it or not.
Yes, sir.
Don't ask me nothing else. And, you trot off and you go do those things. But when you had a leader come up to you and go, look, we need to do this. Here's why we need to get it done. And here's when it needs to be done by. Who, what, when, where, what.
Yep.
Explain that. Now, the second most important thing to me in leadership would be accept the fact you are not going to make everybody happy.
That's right.
And as a commissioner, if you're making everybody happy in your region, you're lying to a lot of people,
Yeah. Because you're going to have people who see it from two different sides.
Absolutely.
And as a commissioner, you have to listen to the whole and determine what the most people want, really.
Sure.
And then go from there. But yeah, you're definitely not going to make everybody happy.
No. And if you are, again, you need to look in the mirror and give yourself an integrity check. Just like I know there's people that's going to watch this that know me that cannot stand Chris Cole. That's fine.
Yeah.
And there's going to be people that watch it that absolutely love me to death.
Yeah.
And as a leader, you're going to have that. My last tour of duty, at one point in time during my deployment, I was put in charge of an entire company of military police officers. That was 148 young men and women, plus the leadership. Did I make every single one of them happy every day? Absolutely not. But even the ones I disappointed in the long run figured out I was there only to take care of them. And they still message me on Facebook, still call me. Hey, Sergeant Cole, what are you doing? Are you still a cop?
Yeah.
But in the long run, if you do what you feel is best in your heart and soul for the community, that's all you need to worry about.
Yeah.
Is my community going to be able to afford this change? Or how can I benefit my community with this change?
Yeah.
If it's not in a forward movement, if it's not moving the county forward, then it probably needs to be canned.
Yes.
We don't need to beat dead horses to death and waste time on stuff that is not going to benefit our community anymore.
Yeah.
Because we've lost a lot of opportunities over the years to bring in new factories, new businesses, because other counties may be doing something better. What that is, I don't know. I can't sit here and put my finger on it yet.
Yeah.
But if God sees fit that I get this position, I will figure that stuff out. If someone calls me and goes, hey, Chris, why'd y'all do this? If I don't know, I'm going to say, I don't know, but I'm going to call you back with an answer.
Yep.
I'm not going to lie to anyone. That's something I've never been known for.
Yeah.
when I was in recruiting, I was told I was brutal. Because if someone walked in and they need to study for the ASVAB, or if they need to work out a little bit more, I tell them direct to their face.
Yeah.
I wouldn't sugarcoat it. Of course, as a civilian, I've had to learn to lighten up a little bit. And again, thank God for my wife and my son. I've learned a lot from them as far as my transition from military to civilian. And I'm still learning every day. I'm 49 years old. Yeah. But I learned just as much from you as you could ever learn from me, because it's, again, going back to that open communication. I got to know and accept that I'm still learning, and I'm going to learn from someone half my age. Right.
If you enter the conversation knowing that I already know more than this guy, the bias will throw you off. You won't be able to actually listen or learn from anything.
The conversation's over before it even begins if you have that mindset.
You have to have that. I go back to something Jesus said. He said, when you enter into the synagogue, don't sit in the chiefest seats and the nicest tables. He said, take the lowest seat. He said, then let somebody come and bring you up higher. He said, if you sit in the highest seat and someone else comes in behind you and they'll tell you, no, there's someone more noble than you, you have to go sit down there. You have to, he that humbleth himself shall be exalted, and the proud will be abased, and that's how it is. So you have to be humble. I mean, look, I know that I'm 29 years old. A lot of people look down on that. And I've gotten a lot of this. He's got a lot of nerve to be acting like he's getting involved now, to be acting like he cares and stuff like that. That really burns me up, because I've always cared. I've always been very involved. Born and raised in Dyer County, lived here my whole life. Started businesses right here in Dyer County. My family, my boys are going to school here. And I have always been involved in church stuff. That's where I have been involved in the community. My wife and I have been going to the same church. I've been going there 15 years. She's been going there all of her life. I'm a Sunday school teacher on Sunday mornings. She and I teach the children on Wednesday nights. We actually just threw a big egg hunt for them last night. And, it's something all the time with that. But I do very much care about the community. And one reason why I have leaned more towards church stuff is because I do have this belief that a lot of the problems and issues that people face in life, they really do boil down to a spiritual thing. It's a spiritual issue. Whether it's battling addiction or battling unforgiveness. I mean, unforgiveness can taint someone just as bad as any bad habit. Hatred, things like that, jealousy. And I think that the source for help and healing from that, as a man, as we are brothers and sisters and children of God, we can do so much in our support, but ultimately it comes from God Almighty, I think. And so that's why, so much of my life thus far has just been involved in the church side of it. But, I do think that, and I've been getting my own family started. Me and my wife have been married 10 years now. We got 2 boys, 9. Sawyer's 9, and Benji's going to be 6 next month. And, when you're just getting established and just getting started, it's hard to do it all, So
I know. Well.
But anyways, that's I have a passion for this community, just like you shared. And there were some other things too, though. Before the camera cut out, it's coming back to me now. 2 things. I'm going to say both of them so I don't forget. Financial audits, budgeting, accountability there, you brought that up, and term limits. I'd like to hear you flesh that out just a little bit more, because one thing, you said the county is not in a deficit. Did I understand you correctly?
That's correct. I've only looked at, so far with the time that I've had available, is a 2025 audit.
Okay.
That's 238-page audit, or the comptroller report.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I said that wrong. It's a comptroller report. And I've reviewed it. Of course, a lot of it can be confusing, and I've had to look back over several things. But from the discussions I've had with current commissioners, and whom I trust, and then what I've been reading, we're not in a deficit, but we're not going, we got all this money coming from everywhere, So that's pretty much where I'm getting my information from.
Okay.
And I know I can pull more budget information, and I've tried, but again, I work nights.
Yeah.
I have a 5-year-old living at my house, with life's trials and tribulations. And of course, people will say, well, you're going to have to dedicate 3 to 5 days a month to commissioner. Absolutely, I will, but I'll have firsthand information of what's going on.
That's right.
Too. So
During that candidate forum, Miss Debbie Bradshaw Hart brought that up, which her opponent didn't come. She was the only one speaking, and they asked her about the budget, which she should know. If I'm not mistaken, she's the chair of the budget committee. And she talked, and there's this paper that I have seen that talks about the county budget, and it basically says something like, $87 million spent, $80,000 received, and to hear her explain it, that is the way that it shows up on the comptroller's report. But that's not a true, accurate representation. Like
Right.
There's money waiting to be cleared, that additional $7 million or whatever it is. And so she argues that it is actually a balanced budget or close to balanced,
Right.
and then the other side argues, no, it's not. Look at this. And again, it comes back to communication. It seems like if what she's saying is true, and I wouldn't call her a liar, then she or somebody else who can lay it out clearly ought to be able to take 10, 15 minutes and make a video or talk. I mean, whatever. But for whatever reason, there is this controversy. People are red hot about it. And instead of like trying to come together and figure it out, I'm not seeing a lot of that. And then I wonder too, if it's just people who don't want to be happy, who want to be like, yeah, the government's screwing us. You know what I mean?
Some people love to live in misery. I see it every day in my job.
I'm going to cut that clip. That's going to be the main one. Some people love to live in misery.
It's true. I mean, I deal with it every day at work. I do. We have a lot of times.
Oh boy.
The same people calling every week.
Yeah.
And making the same complaints. I guess. Yeah. I'm not gonna use any cliches, but people love to live in misery. Some people do. Not everyone, but like from what I read, going back to your what they said about the budget being balanced, I'm not sure. Again, we have a lot to learn.
Sure.
If elected. But from what I saw in the comptroller report, it was reporting a lot of grants given to the county as well.
Okay.
So how that would factor in as far as education grants, because 63% of our budget is education. And then you have the general fund where you got the sheriff's office and EMS, and there's several links in the general fund that goes to multiple different agencies.
Yeah.
And I'm still doing my research. I'm still talking to subject matter experts about how all this really does go into place. What's scary is, why are they having meetings behind closed doors in private? I'm sorry, but if I walk up to Stephen Spire's investments and I say, hey, I want to give you 10 grand to invest. And you say, all right, Mr. Cole, that's fine, but we're going to do stuff with your money you're not going to know anything about.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be allowed to be in on the meetings, or a certain part of the website for you to watch your money grow is going to be in secret. I would walk away from Stephen Spire's investments.
Yeah.
I think most people with any sense would.
That's right.
And there should be absolutely no reason, in my opinion, for anything to be held in secret. We're not running a U.S. military mission to go invade Iran.
That's right. Yeah, this is just
the regular
highway
county
department,
business.
school systems, the law enforcement. I mean, it's as simple.
It
should be pretty cut and dry. Like I'm saying,
Absolutely.
it should be a simple conversation.
Absolutely.
So why the outrage? Why the uproar? Why would somebody not just have the simple talk and put the whole thing to bed?
People are scared too nowadays.
You think so?
Absolutely. And I hate, again, I'm going to use this word to be this cliche. When I grew up in the 80s and 90s, if you wanted to spread a rumor about somebody, you had to work at it. You had to walk around with a note, pass notes around, and physically, verbally tell people stuff.
Yeah.
I can leave here and in 5 minutes spread a rumor about somebody, and it's going to get to 3,000 people on social media.
Yeah.
Okay? And people believe everything they hear. They don't fact check stuff.
Yeah.
I've had soldiers and I've had employees that's worked under me where I've had people go, man, this person's this and that, and it's all negative.
Yeah.
You're going to have a hard time dealing with this or that when it comes to this person. Okay, whatever, go away. I get this said individual that may have a bad rap.
Yeah.
But when I give them the opportunity to prove themselves and that I'm giving them a clean slate,
Yeah.
99% of the time they're one of the best people I've ever had work for me.
That's right.
Because I gave them opportunity nobody else would, because everybody else is listening to the rumors,
Yeah.
the lies. And I've never been about that,
Yeah.
you know. But anyway, I'm getting off.
You're good.
I'm getting off on.
One more thing, and then
Yes,
we're
sir.
going to try to wrap up.
Yes, sir.
You talked about term limits. I would like to hear you flesh that out a little bit. I'll kind of for a foundation tell you where I stand. They asked some candidates this during the forum. I think CLB term limits. The clerk and the highway department is a little bit different,
Right.
obviously. But the job of the CLB is to listen to their constituents, neighbors, whatever you want to call them, and then basically speak on their behalf. It's a little bit different than actually having like a, road commissioner job or
Right.
working as a county clerk or whatnot. But I think it should be for the CLB board. I think there should be a term limit. I've kicked around 8 years, 12 years, and, someone told me, pulled me to the side and said, it's not a good idea to have term limits. And I said, why not? They said, well, for one thing, there's term limits every 4 years. You could vote them out. I'm like, that's correct. Good point. Then they brought up the fact that they had a family member who was serving on the commission locally for 16 years. And when the time come that they stepped down, people tried to get them to stay on. We love what you're doing. We want you to stay on. And they said, no, I served my time. It's time for somebody else to have a chance to do it. And anyways, that person told me, that what he done was a good thing, and people still wanted him to stay around and continue on. And so, what about term limits for someone like that? And my thing is, if you have a term limit, whatever it is, it would mandate that commissioner to be looking in his area to find somebody up and coming who would be willing to do something like that.
Right.
It puts a mandate on it. So even if you made the term limit 16 years, 3 would not be able to run again right now. I stand to be corrected. I looked at the paper a couple nights ago. But there's like a gob ton of them who have been in there for 12 years now. Mm-hmm. And they could run again this time, but I'm talking like 2/3 of the commissioners would not be able to run again. 16 years seems like plenty to me. Absolutely. I don't think we need 20, 30 years just to speak on behalf of the community.
All right.
And if you're saying that there's nobody else out there who can do the job, like I heard this from a guy who's a commissioner right now, that person said, well, if I just knew there was somebody out there who cared about the community who would do a good job, I would step aside and not even run again. And I was like, that is the most sad thing I've ever heard. Like, you think so little of your fellow man that you think that nobody else is able or willing. Like, there's plenty of people who love this community and who work hard and would make great commissioners, I think. Who's approaching them, asking them, or asking? Nobody, because once a commissioner gets in there, a lot of them seem like they're going to hold on till the cold hands of death come and take it away. You know what I mean? So I just don't get it.
Which I respect a lot of the commissioners.
Same.
I do. And like Bubba Cobb, he coached me in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in middle school in football.
No kidding.
I've known him most of my life. In fact, Coach Cobb was the one that convinced me to join the Guard when I got out of the Army.
No kidding.
He said, Chris, you got this, let us use you in the Guard. And I'm like, I can do this 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year. Yeah, well, 9/11 said that ain't going to happen either. But I have a lot of respect for a lot of the commissioners. And I have, and I know you have, I've done my research into you, as I'm sure you have into me. And You've run a wonderful, clean campaign. I have too. I'm not out here bad mouthing no one. But I think the term limits should also be there so someone doesn't feel obligated to keep spending that extra time they could be spending doing somewhere else.
That's right.
And I think some of the commissioners still run because they honestly feel that way.
Yeah. Really, you
But-
think it's just obligation?
Yeah, you get that obligation, and then of course it's that expectation from the community, and people turn that switch off, and that's automatically it's called following the herd. I believe the herd follows its leader, right?
That's right.
It's spoken in the Bible.
Yeah.
Now, if you put that cutoff on it, you can prep new leaders.
That's right.
People can say, "Hey, this is going to open up. I think I can do a good job.
That's right.
I think I might stand a chance." But right now, a lot of people are thinking, "Well, if I run, I can't beat the current incumbent."
Yes, that's correct.
But if you got Chris Cole and Stephen Spires, not incumbents, running for the same position, you got to work,
That's right.
And the term limits are good for the community, for everyone. It brings in fresh blood. Everybody's screaming that now. We need new blood in the county commission. Heck, I'm probably one of the oldest guys running. Well, not one of the, but pretty close to the top of being 49 in a couple weeks. But no, I absolutely. There's a reason there's a term limit for the president, and there should be term limits for senators and congressmen.
I believe that too.
And it should be all the way down in all of politics,
Yep.
honestly.
Well, it brings the thing full circle. Like, the point is serve and then raise up a next generation of leader.
Absolutely.
When you realize that your time is coming to an end, or whatever, you're going to a different season in life, that's how it comes full circle. That's how you leave a legacy. You know what I mean? Like, why not train up somebody and be their airstrip, like for an airplane? Like, be a smooth airstrip for them to take off and go further and do better than you ever even thought about doing, instead of being like a rough airstrip full of potholes and trying to, speed bumps and everything else, trying to stop them from taking off. But
No, I'm all about watching people grow.
that's right.
And I'm excited to see you and the other young people running for commissioners. And of course, I won't share who I'm supporting or any of that for the mayor's race or sheriff. I'm staying neutral on that.
Yeah. Same.
I'm trying to run my own race.
Yeah.
Any other questions of me? I feel like I've been talking a lot.
No, man. It's been good. One last thing, just because this did come up, I try to gauge community interest for questions that I might bring up, and this was one. I want to make sure I ask it before I get done. Okay. I don't think you'll have any problem with it at all. But they wanted to know, since you are sheriff's deputy and that you will be on the, if you are elected commissioner, you would have to vote on things that pertain to the sheriff's department. Conflict of interest is a big buzzword right now for people.
Yeah, I just watched a video of that meeting they just had.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that anything that pertains to the sheriff's department, since you work for the sheriff's department also, that would be something that you would abstain from, is a vote at least, or maybe I'm mistaken. I really don't know how that would work. But, do you think that it's fair to call that a conflict of interest? Or, how do you view it from where you sit?
Well, if I abstain from any votes concerning the sheriff's office, and say it's a vote concerning the general fund being sheriff's office, highway department,
Everything, yes.
Everything, I would be running for no reason.
Yep.
Because that's half the votes.
Yep.
Why am I running? Now, me being a deputy, okay, I'm not going to benefit from any increase in retirement.
No.
And I'll go on camera and say, you know why? Because I'm not going to take it. Okay? I'm not investing into the retirement with the sheriff's office.
Okay.
I invest other places.
Got you.
Okay? And I'll be glad to prove that to anyone.
Yeah.
Anyone that wants to come to my house and say, where's your retirement coming from? Well, the military and the VA. It's clear as day.
Yeah.
I haven't been at the sheriff's department long enough, nor will I be there long enough to fully enjoy their current retirement plan.
Yeah.
So I invest my money other places. So if I vote to increase or change the sheriff's office retirement plan say the TCRS, it only makes us a competitor against all the other agencies around us.
Yeah.
Because TCRS is what you get if you go anywhere else in the state. Anywhere else. Why are we one of 3 or 4 counties that doesn't have this wonderful retirement benefit? That's a question I ask.
Yeah. But you wouldn't be partaking of it if you
No.
were to vote for that. So obviously, then that isn't a conflict. Yeah.
No, I mean, and even if I ask for an increase in pay, all I'm asking for is to match what Obion County is paying.
That's right. That's not asking for the world.
All right, and I'm also
Yeah.
I'm also asking to increase the pay of our jailers, the pay of our dispatchers, because you know what you get when you get highly paid, good paid jailers? You get jailers that are not bringing in dope.
Oh boy,
Okay.
we're getting in the weeds now.
No,
son.
no, I'm not going to get into that. But you get better quality people. It's a fact. You
Yes,
get better
that is
quality
true.
people.
That's true. You get what
So-
you pay for sure.
I'm honestly voting the way I feel in my heart, not because I expect some kickback.
Yeah.
And I'm open to questions from anyone or audit from anything. I have nothing to hide.
Yeah.
All right. I never have. You know, I served 21 years in the Army in charge of more weapons, more money, more logistics, and more soldiers than this county's budget's worth in 3 or 4 years that I handled in 1 year, with 0 losses, 0 write-offs. Every bullet, every gun, everything accounted for. I've never taken a thing. Because I know, with my luck, growing up as a young kid, getting caught, everything I did wrong, I was lucky and I learned lessons that, Christopher, if you do something wrong, you're going to get caught.
Yep.
And I don't want to steal. I want to earn.
That's right.
And if giving our deputies more money, better retirement, better insurance, they're paying almost $600-700 a month right now for their insurance. Oh, well, guess what? That's information. It's not put out there a whole lot either.
Yeah.
You know,
That's a lot.
I mean,
Yeah.
and if you're a deputy, not making very much either, and you got a young wife and a child at home, or just a child even.
That's 1 week's paycheck. Just going to insurance
Gone.
just about. Woo.
Gone.
God.
And you're still out of pocket a lot on the bills that aren't covered by the insurance.
Yeah.
I think the COB needs to shop around, and I know this might make people mad because people, well, this is the way it's always been, and I don't care. We need to shop around. We need to look at other insurance companies. We need to look at TCRS for real
Yeah.
and vote on it. And most of the deputies that want to elect in this retirement are willing to pay up to 5% out of their paycheck. Me personally, I'm not. I'm not going to pay for somebody else's retirement. Nobody else has paid for mine.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's just, that's how I stand. Will I not vote? To go back to your original question, absolutely I will vote.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be a conflict. And if the sheriff's office, whoever is the sheriff next, brings up a budget and I see stuff that is horse hockey,
Yeah.
I'll bring it up and question it.
Yeah.
Probably before anybody else. I'm not scared to question things.
No. shouldn't be.
Even if it comes down to my boss. I've already done it. I have a history of it, unfortunately. But if I see something that's wrong, I will bring it up. Maybe I can be that person on the COB to better explain why certain budget items are a certain way.
Yeah. So, yeah, one big issue that you would push for is the TCRS
Absolutely.
retirement.
These guys deserve a good retirement.
Oh, I agree with that. Yeah.
Our guys are literally out here getting shot at, having to shoot. They're in high-speed chase. They put their lives on the line every time they leave the house.
Yep.
They deserve the best we can give them.
That's right.
I've been blessed with the best I've earned through the Army and everything I've already gotten with my career. And this is just me still getting to serve and have the camaraderie in a law enforcement setting that I kind of had in the military. And I love it.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it.
Well, that's great. Well, yeah, that's about all I got. Unless you wanted to talk about anything else, we've been going an hour and a half.
Yeah, this has been kind of long. I'm getting.
Yeah, we can go. We go again. This could be halftime.
Well, no, I just again I want to thank you, Stephen,
Yes,
so
sir.
much for your time,
Yeah, man. Thank you.
everything. I appreciate you and what you're doing.
Yes, sir.
You know, the small business owners of this county don't get enough credit. They employ people. They
Yeah.
do things, and I want to thank you for that as well.
Well, I appreciate it. It's a struggle, just like anything else. But I'm optimistic. A lot of people are not about the county, about small businesses in general, or just the future. But I choose to double down. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna be here till Jesus comes back or I die. So I'm gambling all I got on this.
No doubt. No
Yeah.
doubt.
But thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure, and we'll have to do it again sometime.
Absolutely. Let me know.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks, Bo. All right. I guess you'll edit all that. Huh?
I think it went good.
I do too. I hope I didn't look too nervous.
Oh no. Yeah.